Stop scrolling, brother. Seriously. Put the phone down, take a breath, and feel this. She didn't leave you because you were broke. She left you because you were broken. Not the kind of broken you show the world, the kind that hides behind jokes, behind being chill, behind pretending like nothing ever gets to you. You think it was about the money, the job, the lifestyle. No, it was something deeper. She could feel it, the silent war going on inside your chest. You stopped leading, you stopped believing in yourself, you started shrinking, and every time you dimmed your light to keep her close, she respected you less. You were a man searching for peace in her instead of building it within, and she got tired, not because she didn't love you, but because loving you started to feel like losing herself. You thought you were giving her your all, but you were giving her a man who had already given up on himself. You were lost, brother, and no one came looking for you because you didn't even know you were missing. But I do. I know that pain, the silent kind, and I'm here to tell you this isn't the end of your story. This is the start of your comeback. Let's talk. You were raised to be soft, brother, not soft in heart, soft in spine. From a young age, the world told you, be nice, be agreeable, don't rock the boat, and you listened. You thought if you just followed the rules, if you smiled at the right time, if you stayed polite, respectful, humble, love would come naturally. Respect would follow, women would want you, the world would welcome you. But here's the gut punch most men don't get until it's too late. Being liked is not the same as being respected. And when a man is liked more than he's respected, he becomes disposable. You became a good guy, not because it was your truth, but because it was safe. You learned to avoid conflict, suppress anger, bury desire. You didn't want to upset her. You didn't want to be called toxic. You didn't want to be one of those guys. So you adapted. You held back your opinions. You let her make the decisions. You sacrificed your wants, not because it was noble, but because you were scared. And every time you silenced yourself to make her more comfortable, she saw it. She felt it, and slowly she lost faith in you, because women don't fall for nice. They fall for grounded strength. The kind of man who knows what he wants, moves with purpose, and isn't afraid to draw the line you were taught to follow. But love doesn't follow the weak. Love follows leadership, and I don't mean domination. I don't mean shouting orders or puffing your chest out. I mean presence, conviction, a man who speaks truth even when it's uncomfortable, a man who protects his values, who says, "This is who I am with or without you." You never got that training. No one taught you to be a man grounded in purpose, discipline, or clarity. You were given Disney stories and told that if you just be a good guy, love would be yours. But you were sold a fantasy. Because being liked isn't what makes a woman stay. Being respected is. And respect doesn't come from people pleasing. It comes from inner alignment, from walking your path, from not needing her to validate you because you validate yourself every damn day by how you show up in the world. But you forgot that, didn't you? You tried so hard to be agreeable that you became invisible, and now she's gone. And you're wondering what you did wrong. You replay the moments in your head. Was I not supportive enough? Was I too emotional? Did I say something wrong? No, brother. It wasn't that. It was that you were afraid to lead, afraid to assert, afraid to be seen, and a woman cannot follow a man who has no direction of his own. This isn't about blame. This is about truth. You weren't weak because you were nice. You were weak because you were trained to trade your masculinity for approval. And now you're waking up to what that cost you, but it's not too late. The first step is reclaiming your spine. Start making decisions again, not based on how they'll make people feel, but based on what's right. Speak your truth even if your voice shakes. Take up space not in arrogance but in confidence, because the world doesn't need another people pleaser. It needs men who lead with courage, who love with depth, and who never again apologize for being masculine. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be respected by those who recognize your fire. And it's time to remember that. You gave her everything, your time, your energy, your loyalty. You gave her your heart, raw, unfiltered, wide open. And for a while it felt like love, it felt like home, but somewhere in the middle of it all you forgot to keep your spine. You started bending, not in small ways, in soul-shattering ones. You started sacrificing not just your time, but your truth. You stopped standing up for yourself. You stopped leading the way. You stopped being the man she fell in love with, the one with vision, direction, and boundaries. You told yourself this is what love is, right? Compromise, selflessness, sacrifice. But let's be honest, you weren't sacrificing for love. You were sacrificing because you were afraid of losing her. Every time she pulled away, you leaned in more. Every time she tested you, you folded. Every time she challenged your values, you softened your stance just to keep the peace. And you thought you were being romantic. You thought, if I just love her harder, she'll come back. If I show her how loyal I am, she'll see my worth. But what she saw was a man losing himself. Piece by piece, choice by choice, you became the man who said yes when he wanted to say no, who apologized for things he didn't even believe were wrong, who let her emotions dictate the direction of the relationship while your own stayed buried under silence. You stopped being rooted, and she could feel it, because a woman can only love a man she can trust, and trust doesn't come from love alone. It comes from witnessing a man who refuses to betray himself. You betrayed yourself, brother, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet, daily ways that no one else noticed except her. And here's the hardest part to swallow. You weren't wrong for loving her deeply. You were wrong for loving her in a way that required abandoning yourself. That's not love, that's dependence. That's fear in disguise. That's putting her on a pedestal and shrinking your own crown, just so she doesn't feel threatened by your power. But here's the raw truth. She didn't want a servant, she wanted a partner, a man who had his own fire, his own convictions, his own backbone, because a man who loses himself for love will eventually lose the love too. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because he became unrecognizable, and the worst part, you knew it. Deep down in your gut, in those quiet moments when you were alone, you felt it, that slow erosion of your identity. But you stayed silent. You told yourself, this is just how relationships are. I'm supposed to be the rock. I'm supposed to absorb her storms. But being a rock doesn't mean being voiceless. Being a leader doesn't mean being a doormat. And love should never require your self-erasure. Brother, you didn't lose her because you weren't enough. You lost her because you stopped being you. And when you lost you, she had no one left to respect, no one left to believe in, no one left to follow. And now you're sitting in the aftermath, asking what happened. But this is what happened. You gave her your soul and forgot to keep your spine. But this can be your wake-up call. This can be the moment where you rise, not bitter, not jaded, but reborn. You can love again, you can trust again, but next time you'll do it differently. You'll keep your soul and you'll guard your spine. You'll open your heart, but not at the expense of your truth. You'll be loving, yes, but also rooted. Unshakable, clear, direct, because the next woman who enters your life, she doesn't need all of you at once. She needs the man who knows his own worth, whether she stays or not, and that man is still inside you. Waiting, you thought everything was fine. You were showing up, paying the bills, saying I love you. You weren't cheating. You weren't fighting, no drama, no chaos, just comfort. But then she looked at you one day and you could feel it in her eyes. She was already halfway gone, and you didn't understand why. You thought you were doing everything right. You thought being steady was enough. But here's the truth, brother. You confused comfort with connection. There's a dangerous lie a lot of men fall into, that if they just stay consistent, loyal, predictable, she'll feel love. But love doesn't die because of chaos. It dies from silence, from two people drifting further and further apart while pretending everything is okay. You stopped feeling her, and worse, you stopped letting her feel you. You became numb. You started living like a ghost in your own relationship. Still there, but not really there. Maybe you buried yourself in work. Maybe you scrolled your phone for hours while sitting right beside her. Maybe you turned to porn to escape your own shame and frustration instead of turning to her. You weren't present. And she felt it in ways you didn't even notice, the long silences, the distant hugs, the mechanical good mornings. At some point you started confusing peace with flatness. You thought, we're not arguing, so we must be good. But deep down things weren't good, they were dead. Because a woman doesn't stay because things are quiet. She stays because things are alive. She stays because the man she's with keeps showing up. Emotionally, spiritually, vulnerably. You stopped letting her into your mind. You stopped telling her what you feared, what you dreamed of, what you were struggling with. You stopped looking her in the eye with that fire you had when you first met. That man who challenged her, who made her feel seen, who made her feel something. You replaced depth with duty, and brother, no woman on this planet falls in love with duty. She falls in love with presence. She stays with emotion. She connects with the parts of you that are real, not robotic. But I get it. You were tired of feeling unappreciated, tired of trying and getting nothing back, tired of risking vulnerability and getting criticized instead of comforted. So you shut down, and when a man shuts down, he starts surviving the relationship instead of living in it. You did what a lot of men do. You became a provider of things instead of a provider of energy. And the moment your emotional presence disappeared, so did the spark in her eyes. She didn't leave you because you were mean. She left because she couldn't feel you anymore. And when a woman can't feel a man's soul, she forgets why she ever trusted him with hers. The tragedy is, it wasn't that you didn't care, it's that you stopped knowing how to show it. You thought your loyalty would be enough. But love isn't a checklist, it's a connection, a living, breathing force that has to be nurtured, not assumed. You didn't lose her because you didn't show up. You lost her because when you did, you weren't fully there. But this is the moment where that can change, because now you're awake, now you see it, now you realize that connection isn't just about presence, it's about aliveness. It's in the way you look at her, the way you touch her, the way you speak your truth even when it's hard, the way you stay in the room, heart open, ego aside, and most of all, it's in the way you connect with yourself first. Because a man who is emotionally dead to himself can never be emotionally alive to someone else. So wake up, brother. This pain, this distance, this heartbreak, it's a sign, not that you're finished, but that it's time to come back to yourself. To stop numbing, to stop hiding, to stop mistaking silence for peace, and finally to start feeling again. You told yourself you were in love. You said it felt real, deep, powerful, and I'm not saying you didn't feel something. But brother, let's be honest with ourselves. For once you didn't love her, you needed her. There's a difference. And it's the difference that cost you everything. See, when a man is whole, when he knows who he is, when he walks in his mission, when he's anchored in his values, he can love a woman from overflow. He doesn't need her to fill the gaps. He doesn't need her to fix his broken confidence. He doesn't need her to be his therapist, his mother, his motivation. But when you don't know who the hell you are, when your self-worth is built on how much she smiles at you, when your sense of value depends on how many times she says, "I love you," then you're not loving her, you're clinging to her. You made her your oxygen, your reason, your source of happiness, peace, purpose, all of it. You turned her into your world. And when a man makes a woman his world, he stops being a man, because he's no longer grounded. He's orbiting someone else's life, someone else's emotions, someone else's moods, and you might have called it devotion. You might have told your boys, "She's my everything." But that's not romantic, it's suffocating. She felt it. That weight, that pressure, you weren't coming to her as a whole man. You were coming to her as a starving soul, hoping her love would silence your insecurity, hoping her attention would fix your childhood wounds, hoping her approval would prove that you were finally enough. But, brother, no woman wants to carry a man's identity. She doesn't want to feel like if she leaves, your whole life collapses. That's not security, that's emotional debt, and no one wants to spend their life paying it off. You didn't love her. You loved what she gave you temporarily. You loved how she made you feel like you mattered. You loved the way her presence distracted you from your emptiness. You loved the idea that she made you whole. But that's not love, that's addiction, and addiction always ends in withdrawal. Always. So when she left, you didn't just lose her, you lost your entire sense of self, because you never built a self without her. You never had a life outside of the relationship. You were so focused on holding her close, you forgot how to stand on your own 2 feet. And that's why it hurt so much. That's why you couldn't breathe, because she wasn't just your girl, she was your lifeline. And when your lifeline walks away, you feel like you're drowning. But I need you to hear this part louder than anything else. She wasn't your answer. She was your mirror. She reflected how much of yourself you'd abandoned. She revealed the places you still needed to heal. She exposed the lies you were telling yourself about your worth, your strength, your identity, and her absence. That's not punishment, that's invitation. An invitation to finally become the man you pretended to be when she was around. A man who doesn't need anyone to feel whole, but chooses to love fully because he's already full inside. This is where everything changes. This is where you stop chasing and start building, where you stop needing and start leading, where you stop depending and start becoming, because the next time you love, and you will love again, it won't be from emptiness. It won't be from fear. It won't be from, "Please don't leave me, I can't survive without you." It will be from, "I'm whole, I'm grounded, I'm on mission, and I choose to let you in, but I will never lose me in the process again." You don't need to be rescued. You need to be rebuilt, and every piece you lost in her you're about to take back. Let's not sugarcoat this. You got comfortable, you built the connection, got the girl, settled into the rhythm, and slowly, so slowly, you didn't even notice you stopped moving forward. You stopped pushing yourself. You stopped evolving. You stopped becoming the man you once swore you'd be. You looked at her and thought, "I've got her. I don't need to prove anything anymore." And that was your mistake. Because the second a man stops growing, he starts dying, not physically, spiritually, mentally, the kind of death that doesn't make a sound. It just slowly rots everything around him. You traded your ambition for comfort, your discipline for routine, your edge for softness, and little by little she noticed. See, when she first met you, there was a fire in your eyes. You had drive, hunger, vision. You were chasing something. She looked at you and thought, this man is going places. And that belief, that feeling, is what made her trust you. She didn't fall in love with a finished product. She fell in love with a man in motion, a man becoming, a man building. But then you stopped lifting. You stopped dreaming. You stopped leading. You used to talk about goals. Now you talk about Netflix shows. You used to attack your mornings with intention. Now you scroll your phone until noon and call it rest. You used to be the man who inspired her. Now you're the man she walks around like a ghost. And I know that hurts to hear. But sometimes we need the wound cut open before we can clean it. Because she didn't leave because she stopped loving you. She left because she stopped believing in the future with you. She tried to encourage you. She dropped hints. She begged you to come back to life. But you were too numb to hear it. You told yourself, I'm just tired. But really, you were asleep. Asleep at the wheel of your own life. And she knew, if she stayed on that ride with you, she was headed straight toward a life of mediocrity. You weren't unsafe, you were uninspiring, and for a woman wired to follow a man with purpose, that's emotional death. She wanted to grow with you, build with you, push limits with you, but how can she grow with a man who's done growing? You stopped evolving, so she stopped believing, and here's what you have to understand now. Not every breakup is about infidelity, lies, or betrayal. Some of them happen simply because you stopped being the man she chose in the first place, and this isn't about blaming you. This is about facing yourself. Look around. Are you living like a man with fire in his chest, or are you just getting by? Because women feel it. They don't leave men who are building something even if it's slow. They leave men who have lost their mission. She wanted to follow you to greatness, but she can't follow a man who isn't going anywhere. So now, here's your choice. You can sit in the ashes and keep asking, why did she leave? Or you can become the man she never would have even thought of leaving. Get back in the gym. Pick your craft back up. Reignite the damn mission, not for her, not for anyone else, but because you owe it to the man inside you, the one you abandoned. This is your wake-up call, brother. You're not done, you just paused. And this heartbreak, this loss, this reflection in the mirror that you don't even recognize, this is the price of comfort. Now earn your edge back, earn your fire back, earn your self-respect back, because when a man starts moving against the world and the right woman feels it, and next time you won't have to ask her to stay, she'll fight to follow, because you'll finally be leading again. This is where it all breaks, where everything you've been running from finally catches up to you, the weight of the silence, the pain you thought you buried, the look in the mirror where you don't even recognize your own face. This is your rock bottom, and brother, it's the most sacred place you'll ever stand, because when the noise fades, when the distractions vanish, when she's gone, you're left with you. No mask, no validation, just the raw, unfiltered man behind it all, scared, empty, angry, and desperate to breathe again. And in that pain is your answer, not the kind of answer the world gives you, not the cliché, time heals all wounds, lie. The real answer, the one you've avoided. You were never meant to be saved by her. You were meant to be forged by this. This pain you're in, it's not punishment, it's purification. This is where the excuses burn off, where the softness dies. where the boy in you cries out and the man in you starts to listen. Because here's what most men don't realize until it's too late. You don't grow on the mountaintop. You grow in the valley. You grow in the betrayal, the heartbreak, the stillness after the storm, when everything you thought made you strong is stripped away, and you find out what's actually left. You wanted comfort. Life gave you consequences. You wanted love. Life gave you loneliness, not to break you, but to build you. Because the version of you that she left, that wasn't your final form. That was the call to evolve. This is where you rise, not with pride, not with revenge, but with responsibility. You take your power back. Piece by piece, rep by rep, day by day, you wake up and make your bed. You hit the gym, not for abs, but for discipline. You journal your thoughts. You control your screen time. You stop chasing women who don't see you and start becoming a man who can't be ignored. Because when you build a life you're proud of, you stop begging to be part of someone else's. You don't need her to complete you. You need you to remember you were never broken, just buried. Buried under comfort, buried under insecurity, buried under a version of yourself that settled too damn early. But now you rise from the ground up. Not because it's easy, but because it's required. Because some lessons are only learned when you lose everything. And right now you might feel like you've lost it all. But what if this isn't loss? What if it's alignment? What if this is the universe tearing down what wasn't real, so you could finally start building what is? You don't come back by chasing her. You come back by choosing you, by owning your wounds, by rebuilding your purpose, by standing in the fire and walking out forged in it. This is your turning point, brother, the moment where your story shifts. From victim to visionary, from boy to man. She didn't make you a man. Her leaving did, and now it's your move. Because this rock bottom, it's not the end, it's the foundation. Stand on it, build from it, and become the man you were always meant to be. Brother, if you're still watching this, then you're not weak, you're awake. You didn't click this video by accident. You were meant to hear this, to face the man in the mirror, to rise from what broke you, not tomorrow. Now, you don't need her to come back. You need you to come back, because the man you were, the boy chasing her love, craving her approval, he had to die. So, the man who leads, who builds, who commands respect, could finally live. So if this message hit your chest like a truck, don't walk away in silence. Say it out loud in the comments. I'm coming back stronger. Not for her, not for revenge, but because you owe it to yourself. Fire like this video if it woke something up inside you. Speech balloon comment if you're on your journey. Repeat button share this with the brother who's still lost. Round pushpin subscribe to Stoic Bloodline, because this isn't just a channel. This is a movement, and the men who stay. We don't stay soft. We don't stay broken. We rise every damn time.